What is going on, everybody? Welcome to way too early NFL predictions for the 2025-2026 season. This is part one of a two-parter, as the first part is going to be me going ahead and actually just predicting the NFL schedule, seeing how everything is going to work, how I feel like this season is going to shake up and wrap up. I am just going to try and get myself out of the habit of dogging on teams to make sure that I actually am kind of fair to as many teams as I can. Obviously, this is not going to be a perfect list. I wish it would be, but let's go ahead and figure out what the heck this season has in store. Part two is going to be Dice. Yes, you heard me right. Dice is going to predict the scores and everything of the 2025-2026 NFL season, and I will see where my stuff shakes up, where the random dice shakes up, and who ends up winning at the end. So if you guys think the human's going to win, or if you think the dice is going to win, let us know. Obviously, because it's so early, we cannot account for any form of injuries or anything that's going on. So it is just kind of team by team, whatever, strength by strength. But in week one, we start off our Thursday. We're going to go ahead, and the way we're going to order this is AFC versus NFC, and all NFC. We're not going to go through the entire slate like that. But week one, we got Kansas City and the Chargers. I feel like the Chargers could do things this year. For sure. They could create some problems. However, I don't see the NFL kind of letting that happen immediately in week one. So I'm going to go ahead and give the Chiefs the W for their week one game. Week two, Jets and Steelers. And I'm going to kind of blitz these, try and get these done as fast as possible. The Steelers don't have a quarterback. At least from what I remember, they don't have a quarterback. They are having issues. I mean, even if they get Aaron Rodgers, I think Aaron Glenn is going to find a way to coach these Jets up and get the first dub on the season. That defense is going to be hopefully a lot better, as they got another defensive-minded head coach, which is interesting because they were upset about that. Jets are going to jet, but that's where I'm going to go with that. Dolphins and Colts. Honestly, I don't trust the Colts very much this season. I really need to see a lot more from Anthony Richardson to figure out what in the world is going to go on. So I do think Tua and the Dolphins are going to take that, but I think it's going to be close. Browns and Bengals. This is where I'm going to shock some people. I actually am going to have the Browns beating the Bengals week one, as the Bengals are going to suffer their slow start syndrome again, and that's going to hurt them. Raiders and Patriots. I got to give this one to the Patriots. The Raiders are going to do a lot better and do some good things this season, but I do think that the Raiders are just going to start off a little bit slower than the Patriots are. There's a lot of new head coaches and new scenarios. Titans and Broncos. It's going to go to the Broncos. Big marquee matchup for week one, though. Is this Sunday night? That better be Sunday Night Football. It is Sunday Night Football. The Bills and the Ravens, and I am going to go ahead and give this one to the Buffalo Bills. Then, AFC versus NFC, we have the Panthers and the Jaguars. I do think the Panthers are going to be a sneaky team this season, and I say that early, but they could be 5-12. We'll find out. But as sneaky teams go, I do think that they are going to end up taking the L in week one, and the Jaguars are going to take it. And then, unfortunately for me, I do see the Rams taking out the Texans, as the first NFC victor goes to them. Then, of course, on the NFC side, I got the Eagles over the Cowboys. I got the Cardinals over the Saints, which, my division is going to start out with 2 wins here. Falcons, Bucks. This is a sneaky game. This is a sneaky game. And I actually have the Falcons over the Bucks in week one. I do think that, it's going to be the first time they see Penix, the Bucks do, and the Penix has the ability to torch a team. And we saw that with Kirk Cousins, and we saw the problems with that. I do think Tampa is going to be a very strong team this year. But I feel like this is a trap waiting to happen. So I'm going to go ahead pick the Falcons to beat the Bucks. Then Commanders. Then over here, we're going to go ahead and go with this one's going to be a tough one. This is a very big toughie game. I could see this one flipping either way. I just see Seattle at home as one of those week 1 scare places for sure. I think that we are going to take the first game of the San Francisco series and get the W there. Then I am going to go ahead and give the Lions the victory over the Packers. But that's another tough one. And then the Bears the victory over the Vikings. Now, as you can see on both sides of the screen, you are going to actively see, and I'm going to try not to pay attention to that. That way, I just have my genuine feelings on the team. But you're going to see where all these teams line up at the end of the day. So I'm very interested to see how that goes for everybody and what that may bring. If I move this up, will that affect anything? It will not. You can still see bottom team. Yes, you can. Okay. So then I'm going to move on to week 2 because I'm going to have to kind of cut it off that way. Unfortunately, that's very unfortunate that I have to do it this way, but here we are. So Bills, Jets. Obviously, the Jets got their week 1 dub. They're not getting a week 2 dub. I'm sorry. That's just not happening. Patriots and Dolphins. Their Dolphins are at home. I'm going to take them at home. Bengals and Jaguars. This, I think, is going to be a good game as well, but I am going to go ahead and give this to the Bengals. I don't see them 0-4ing and like really pooping the bed, but definitely not the greatest of start. And then I'm going to go ahead and give the Ravens the win. Broncos and Colts. I'm going to go ahead and give that to the Denver Broncos. The AFC South is going to be a rough division this year. I feel it. Here's where I think that the Raiders can do things. This is what I'm talking about with Raiders being able to do things. This is pound for pound, like kind of run through both teams wanting to run through teams' throats. And I'm going to give the Raiders the W on this one. The Chargers, don't get me wrong, they're a good team, but I worry about the health of the running back position on the Chargers. I feel like and that really won't play too much of a factor in week 2, but still, it feels like that's the Raiders game to win right there. Tennessee and Rams, unfortunately, I got to give it to the Rams. Seahawks and at Pittsburgh. Our line is not going to be ready. I want us to beat the Steelers so badly. We played the Steelers in week 2. The last time we had to go to Pittsburgh. But it's one of those games that I see this as a game that Tomlin will work his way out of, and I am going to give the Steelers the win on this one. I want to win, and I do think that we have the capabilities to win. I think it's going to be a close game, but I can't in good faith pick us to win that game. As you can tell by my 12 flag, hopefully you can see that. I don't know. Yeah, you can see it. You can see the bottom corner of it. But yeah, Seahawks fan, so it's fine. Eagles, Chiefs. I gotta give that to Eagles. Eagles win the rematch. It's gonna be a tough call, but they got 10 days. They got 10 days for this Chiefs team. They got this. Gotta give it there. Buccaneers and Texans, and this is a Monday night matchup that's going to be a good Monday night matchup, but I am going to give this to Tampa. I do think that the Texans are going to be scary against Tampa, but I just feel like this is where Tampa having an established unit is going to help. Yeah, the Texans lost Laramie Tunsil and other pieces, so they're a good team, but it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be a rough start. Packers, Commanders, Thursday Night Football. I gotta give it to the Green Bay Packers. I feel like the North is gonna be so strong, sans the Vikings, that it's going to be a very scary season all the way around. And plus, Washington on a short week after having to, I don't even remember who they played week 1. That's pretty bad. Oh, they played the Giants. Yeah, they had an easy week 1. So this is going to be their first test of the season. So I got to give it them. Cowboys and Giants. Speaking of a team that is an easy test. Cowboys, long week, dub. Saints, 49ers. 49ers get the reclaim on the Saints. Lions, Bears. Lions are going to just be all out on that one. I'm sorry. Lions are going to be freaking slamming teams right there. They're going to try to, at least. Panthers and Cardinals. This I have to give to the Cardinals. I don't want to. I want to give this one to the Panthers because this is definitely a winnable game for the Panthers. But I think the Cardinals will take that one. And then last but not least, Falcons, Vikings. Falcons take the dub. Vikings, yeah, they're gonna struggle. They're gonna be on the struggle bus a little bit. I'm gonna be real. I just Sunday Night Football for a rookie quarterback, I just feel second year quarterback, but basically rookie quarterback. They're both basically that. The difference is Penix has had experience and has played well with that experience. So, week 3, Bills take over the Dolphins. So the 2-0, the double 2-0 for Thursday Night Football. That makes sense. Colts and Titans. I am going to go ahead and give this one to the Titans. I think that this is actually a game that they can win, and I like that. Steelers, Patriots. I am going to go ahead and give this one to the Steelers. Again, they're going to get another W. They're going to be like a team to me that is but just enough to skate by things, especially with that defense. The defense is going to be it's stout still. It's still super strong. Texans and Jaguars. I got to give this one to the Texans. This is where they're going to rebound. This is where they're going to get their win. They lost their first 2, and they're not going to let a divisional opponent knock them to 0-3. Chargers, Broncos, same thing here. They're 0-2. They are not. This is a team that's not going to let a divisional opponent knock them down to 0-3. Chargers get the W, and they do what they need to do. Bengals, they take the W over here. That was a pretty easy game to call. Buccaneers beating the Jets. I think that's a pretty easy game to call for me too. Same here. Short or a long week against the Raiders. Got to give that one to the Washington Commanders. Same thing here against the Browns. Got to give that one over. And then this is one of the easier slates until we get to here. Ravens, Lions. Like the Lions are a really good team, right? But I don't know how I feel about this game. I can't be like super confident. This is the first halt, wait a minute. Like against their division, I was like slam. This is at Baltimore on prime time. Yeah, Lamar is sometimes iffy on prime time, but I gotta give this one to the Baltimore Ravens. It's just how I feel, unfortunately, on that one. Eagles, Rams. That's gonna be another tough one, but I am going to give the Eagles a slight edge on that one. And then I think the Panthers are going to upset the Falcons here. The Seahawks are going to beat the Saints because the Saints are the lowly team. They're one of those teams that they can sneak in a couple, but they definitely have a scary schedule. 49ers over the Cardinals. So the 49ers kind of slide right back in there. And then right here, this is another tough game. I am going to go ahead and say the Bears still do Bear things. I think the Bears can be better this season, but I think the Bears are going to do Bear things, and I think they're going to let the Dallas Cowboys win that game. So here we are, week 4, as we are going to progress onward. Texans, Titans, got to give that one to the Texans. Texans up to 2-2. Chiefs and Ravens. This is where I kind of got to give the edge to the core of the Ravens. I love Travis Kelce. Obviously, he's like my man, but I gotta give it to the Ravens here. The Ravens have built a strong foundation and a foundation enough to actually win games. So I'm going to give that over to the Ravens. And then Jets Dolphins, I got to give this one to the Dolphins as they have an extended week. Unfortunate for Aaron Glenn, because I do think Aaron Glenn could win that game. As it's a Monday night. And then the second part of the Monday night doubleheader is the Bengals and the Broncos, which I am going to go ahead and give this one to the Broncos, so that they're 3-1, and Bo Nix is going to do that. Steelers, another squeak by random win that they should not have. There they go. Panthers and Patriots. I am going to give this one to Drake May and the Patriots. Again, they're gonna be a better team. They're not gonna be a playoff team, but they're gonna be better. You're gonna see it. Chargers over the Giants because the Giants are just terrible. I know that they have Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson could kind of help them, but I just don't see much happening. Bills take the W, and they are going to continue doing the thing. Lions are going to continue doing their thing. Rams are going to do their thing. 49ers are going to do their thing. And then Bears gonna bear. Bears gonna bear. Bears gonna bear. I think they could win that one against the Raiders, but Bears are gonna bear. Bears are gonna bear. I think they're gonna have to get time to adjust to their situation. And then here's another tough one for me. I do think we've been thrashing the Cardinals for so long, but Cardinals on Thursday Night Football with us have just been has been a weird history of a trap game. I'm going to have to give this one to Arizona. Arizona's going to take it. Barely. It's going to be like a 3-point or less game, but they're going to take it. And then speaking of teams that are going to take it, Eagles are going to take that over the Buccaneers. Then Falcons versus Commanders. I do give the edge to the Commanders on this one. So there we go. And then, in a shocker, I think the Cowboys are going to take down the Packers, and they are going to have a good start, honestly. I don't think they're going to finish well, but they're going to have a good start. So they're 3-1. And heading into week 5, which is the first week of buys, which I think we can see. How can we see that? I think I have to slide down to see that. But, oh no, I don't have to. Perfect. Teams on the week 5 bye: Bears, Steelers, Packers, Falcons. Perfect. And then I'll be able to see it when it comes in there because it's going to be a different color for the bye weeks. So, here we have the Ravens taking over the Texans. I think this is where Indy claims their first win, though. I think that the Raiders are a decent team, but I think Indy will find a way to claim their dub there. Bills, of course. Chiefs are going to take the W over the Jaguars. This is a sneaky pick, but I think this is where the Vikings are going to snag their first W of the season, as they can go in and it's two teams with inexperienced quarterback play, with other problems surrounding them. I just think that the Vikings are a more complete team than the Browns. Jets and Cowboys. Another sneaky upset, I feel like. I am going to give this one to Aaron Glenn and the Jets. I think they're going to sneak and do what they need to do. I mean, because here's the thing. Detroit versus everybody, right? But Detroit has now branched out and can take out everybody as a response. Eagles, Broncos. I got to give this one to the Eagles. They're going to start off so strong. I know that. It's going to be tough for me to look at this. Miami and Carolina. I got to give this one to Carolina. I think that they can definitely take that one. Titans and Cardinals. Cardinals are coming off a mini bye. Titans are going to struggle. We're going to give that there. Commanders and the Chargers. This one's a tough one. But I am going to say that the Chargers charge this game and give it to the Commanders. Bengals and the Lions. I do think this is going to be a tough one for the Lions. Another kind of rough matchup for them. I am going to give this to Joe Burrow and the Bengals, as they're going to go to 3-2 on the year. Rams 49ers. I'm going to go ahead and give this one over to the Rams as they get the Thursday Night Football advantage being at home. Then we have the Giants and Saints. I think this is where the Saints claim their first W, and the Giants are going to start spiraling. Speaking of another W, Seattle is going to take the W over the Buccaneers to put them at 3-2 and in playoff contention. I know it's so early for that, so like we'll calm down on the playoff contention because every team pretty much is in there except for the Giants. Honestly, at this point, the Giants are already pretty much over. Jets and the Broncos. I do think the Jets and Aaron Glenn is going to take that W, putting them at 3-3. So the black is that they're on bye, and of course, Steelers take that one. Dolphins, Chargers. This is one I think that the Dolphins are actually going to win. So we're gonna take that. I think Tennessee will take this W over the Raiders, though. I think that again, it's gonna be another sneaky W from the Titans, but they're gonna take that. Seahawks, Jaguars. I'm gonna give this one to Seattle, but it is very coin flippy. It is a very coin flippy game. I don't like that it's a coin flippy game, but it absolutely is. Rams coming off of a mini bye, so they have a 10-day stretch versus the Ravens. Another big game. And unfortunately, this one I see the Rams taking. I just feel like the Rams are going to just stifle Lamar Jackson in ways that I don't need to see because I hate the Rams, but I gotta predict as if it were real. Speaking of predicting as if it were real, Cardinals. Y'all sometimes have some problems. This is a game where we'll see that. I'm going to give this one to the Colts because I think that the Cardinals will have some issues that they're going to have to sort out, and that'll bring shed some light on how this team truly is. Speaking of shedding a light on how a team truly is, I think that the Saints are going to start picking up slightly, not much, but they are going to go on a little bit of a hot streak and get another W. And then speaking of teams that go on a hot streak, I got the Packers. They're on bye week. That's an easy week to go on bye for them. And then speaking of problematic situations, I got the Chiefs over. I say that out loud, and that feels wrong. That actually does feel wrong. But I mean, they're at home though. Yeah, I hate doing it, but I got to. I got the Chiefs. I want the Lions. I'm gonna be rooting probably. This is one of those games where I root for the Lions to win, but Travis to do good. That's what this kind of a game is. Is root for the Lions to win, but the Travis to do good. So tough. But speaking of things that are tough, I actually am going to go ahead and give this one to the Falcons coming off of a bye. They're going to have 2 weeks to prepare for Buffalo and Josh Allen. I think they're going to do it. And then, of course, this Thursday Night Football matchup is not going to matter. 49ers having a mini bye coming off to face the Buccaneers. And unfortunately, that is another L for Tampa, putting them at 2-4 on the season. And then I do think the Panthers are going to sneak onto another W. And then the Bears are going to enact their revenge on the Commanders because they need it. They need it bad. And after a bye week, they're going to self-reflect and they're going to be like, we cannot do this. I do see Ben Johnson being able to pull them out of a rut through the bye week. So there we go. Week 7 of the season. 2 teams on bye. It is, I didn't even go over the bye teams for week 6. Bye teams for week 6 were Texans and Vikings. Bye teams for week 7 is Ravens and Bills. So I've got the Bengals taking over and going to beat the Steelers. As the Steelers, they're going to show their true colors. They're going to have to eventually. And then I have the Patriots over the Titans. And then I've got the Chiefs over the Raiders. Sneaky pick. Very sneaky pick. But I have Cleveland finding a way to get a win over Miami. And then I've got the Chargers beating the Colts. Over here, unfortunately, Rams are going to ram. They're going to another win. I hate it, but I have to pick it. And then another Aaron Glenn moment. Got Aaron Glenn beating the Panthers, which is, again, crazy. Aaron Glenn is getting some wins, at least with this team. Thank goodness for them. Then we have over here, because, I mean, Justin Fields isn't even that bad of a quarterback. So, I mean, he's not going to get you too far, but he's not terrible. Then I do see the Giants losing coming off their mini bye. So they're still going to have a problem. Speaking of teams that are on a bye week, the Texans get a very, very, very graceful, super extended bye week before their primetime game against Seattle, which we all know is going to frick Seattle somehow. So the Texans are going to take that W. It's very annoying that they've been doing that lately, the NFL. And then the Vikings bye week is canceled out because they have to fight the Eagles. So poor Vikings, still out here struggling. Bears and Saints, and this is where the kind of effect of Ben Johnson is going to show up. So they're going to get 2 in a row. Then I have the Green Bay Packers over the Arizona Cardinals, and then the Washington Commanders over the Cowboys. This is where the Cowboys are going to start to falter. They're going to think they're good, and then they're going to realize real quick that they're not. 49ers over the Falcons. And then we have the Lions taking control over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Over here, now we're kind of getting to that midway point in the season. Some teams are kind of scared and figuring out where they are and what they're doing. I've got the Bengals going ahead and taking care of business in a 4-3, 4-3 matchup. I have the Patriots taking care of business to even out their record. I have the Colts going to 3-5, so all the home teams win here. Thursday Night Football, of course, I got to give that to the Chargers. They're going to get the dub there. I do think another sneaky W for the Texans happens right here. It just has that feel. And then, of course, bye week, so got to give it there. Another sneaky W over here, though. The Falcons are going to beat the Dolphins. And the Falcons are going to be sneaky, but I think that a lot of the NFC is going to be very sneaky. And then, of course, a thrashing of the Bears. Then we have the... I'm stuck, actually. I'm torn on this one. I'm going to give this one to Dallas. This feels like a Dallas victory. And then mini bye, but I think that one of the teams that might not make it matter is the Green Bay Packers. I think they're going to get the dub. It's going to be a tough one. It's not going to be a cool, graceful one, but it's going to be a sneak. It's going to be a sneak win. Speaking of sneak wins, I do think that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to sneak it out against the Commanders barely. Teams on bye, there are a lot of them. Let me go ahead and go over it. It is the Jags, Raiders, Lions, Seahawks, Cardinals, Rams. Basically the entire NFC. NFC West, excuse me. Easy dubs. And then, of course, finally, the Buccaneers have an easy divisional opponent game that they have not had the luxury of having yet. So, we're going to go ahead and give that to them. So, week 9. As the Buccaneers are on bye this week. So, they ended up changing some buys. Interesting. I'm okay with that, though. This works. So, we have the Dolphins and Ravens. Ravens. Easy clap, easy call on that one. Then we have the Texans and the Broncos, and I'm going to go ahead and give this one to the Texans. Broncos are going to do some things, but they got a struggle bus period. Chargers with a mini bye, and then a victory for the Steelers as another squeak one out kind of victory. Double buys. The double bye weeks. Interesting situations. I'm going to give this one to the Jaguars, though. As much as I want the Raiders to do good, and I think that they can do better, they're going to keep things more competitive. I got to go with the Jags on that. Then Bills overtake the Chiefs on that and pretty much cement themselves as a top contender for the year. And then Bengals are going to take and pretty much get themselves in a good position. Here's a sneakster victory. I have Drake May beating the Falcons. Drake May is going to beat the Falcons and kind of show why the NFC South is kind of like the weakest division. But it is what it is. It is the Falcons, and they're going to Falcon. They choke sometimes too. And then speaking of the choking situation, I feel like Green Bay won't do that at home. There's really no chokes here. I think this is a pretty kind of straightforward boop, 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 boop. I think that's as straightforward as it can get here. I think Seattle has a very high chance of losing that game though, but we're gonna give them the edge barely, because they're on the bye week. But it do be that week number 10. Raiders, Broncos, Thursday Night Football. They are lucky it is Thursday Night Football. And I'm saying by they, I mean the Raiders, because I think I'm going to give them the W on this. Because this is going to be a run game extravaganza, and the Raiders can do the running. They can run the ball. And that is going to help them out again against a tough divisional opponent. Jags and Texans, I actually feel like this is a Jags upset waiting to happen. It shouldn't feel like it, but it definitely does feel like it. And then I've got the Jets over here. Speaking of upsets waiting to happen, Miami has not done great against the Bills for a while. I think this is their time to get that, and they are going to get the dub. And then the Chargers over the Steelers. And then Choker's going to choke. I've got the Colts over the Falcons. And then, of course, the other two are just 2 easy clicks of a button. So that is going to cap that. Then the Giants just they have it rough. I got them at 0-10 right now, as the Bears are going to take over that spot. Then the Panthers are going to take over another dub. And their lack of a bye week is what is preventing them from kind of being tied for the division lead. Seattle gets their revenge over the Cardinals. Then, speaking of revenge moments, San Fran gets their revenge over the Rams. The Lions get their revenge over the Commanders. And then the Green Bay Packers make us all curse ourselves out as they find a freaking way in the frozen tundra to freaking beat the Eagles. I just see it happening. I just see this as like one of those Packers what the F moments. Because of course, it would happen in Lambeau. Why would it not? So I've got the Packers as the 2 seed now, which is insanity. But the play, like looking at this playoff field, it's actually very weird. I'm okay with it though. It's gonna get less weird though, less and more weird, because I got the Patriots getting a W on a short week, and then the Titans taking a W off of their bye week. Speaking of bye week shenanigans, I got the Bengals taking that one, and then the Choker's gonna choke against the Jaguars. Bye week shenanigans saves the Chiefs, and then upset central for this week. I have the Browns beating the Ravens, somehow finding a way to be upset city. And then, speaking of upset city, this is not an upset, but the Commanders get back on track. They needed it for sure. Then I've got the Buffalo Bills. And then I have another, what would be a upset, I would say, the Raiders beating up on the Cowboys and running like crazy. More upsets coming up. We have the Vikings getting a divisional W over the Bears. I have the Falcons evening up their record. Then I have the Packers. Unfortunately, Seattle is going to lose to the Rams on the road. That just feels like that's how that's going to go. And then the Cardinals, again, they're going to start showing their true colors. They're going to end their L. And then the Eagles are going to beat the Lions and create separation in the division. Unfortunately, the Packers, they have something. I don't want them to have it all, but they got some things. Week 11, teams on bye. Dolphins, Broncos, Chargers, Commanders. I think the Texans, short week, are going to find a way to beat the Bills. And look at that AFC. I took a little gander at that AFC. That AFC is stacked. The NFC is got its kind of favorites in its situation already, which is interesting, except for the NFC South. Like, NFC South is the only thing that's really kind of like up in the air, I think, right now. Colts, sorry, your bye week's against the Chiefs. Unfortunate position. Bengals are going to take that. And then the Ravens are going to take that. And it's just all home teams. All home teams, which is going to be funny because it's not going to be that way on here. So we have the Bears. They take the W over the Steelers. They're going to find a way. They're going to do the thing. Seattle is going to go ahead and defeat the Titans. The Jaguars are going to go ahead and beat the Cardinals. And then we move over to here. Packers, easy clap Lions. Falcons get upset by the Saints. Speaking of upsets, I got the Dallas Cowboys coming back and getting the upset here. Rams taking this one. And lastly, more upset city as the Panthers are going to find a way to upset the 49ers. They need it. They need upsets. Upsets are part of the league. And unfortunately, stuff happens. So, week 13, nobody is on bye because it is Thanksgiving. No, this is not Thanksgiving week. Is it? It is Thanksgiving week. So, nobody's on bye. We've got a crazy slate. So, first off, unfortunately for the Bengals, they're going to lose their position as the 2 seed, as the Ravens are going to take control on that. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to kind of start climbing a little bit. The Texans are going to move to 7-5, so they're going to kind of start cementing themselves as well. The Chargers move to 7-5 and start cementing themselves, and the Bills continue to rise the ranks. Chiefs as well. You're getting a lot of your 9-win teams. Dolphins move to 6-6, climb into the playoff race. Falcons over the Jets. I do think that the Falcons are going to take this one. It's going to be a toughie, though. 49ers, Browns. 49ers got to reclaim what they once lost there. And then the Commanders are going to kind of stay out in the bubble. And that's where I'm interested in the NFC side. Like, who in the bubble is going to get fricked? Because you got the Lions, the Lions, the Seahawks, then the Lions, the Seahawks, and the Commanders in that bubble of who's getting fricked. One of the 3 is going to get fricked, and we'll find out who that ends up being very, very soon. Then we have the Patriots that are going to take another W and move to 7 wins. Crazy. And of course, Thanksgiving Day, Lions, they're going to take their dubs. Then the Eagles going to move to 10 wins. First team to do that. I got to give this to Tampa. I got to give this one to the Rams, which is the second team to 10 wins. And then Seattle moves to 8-4. The fact that 8 wins is required for the playoffs at this point in the season, ridiculous. But again, we will move on further and figure out some more things. Lots of teams on bye. Lots and lots and lots and lots of teams on bye. Not really, there's only 4. But Jets, Dolphins, I gotta give this one to the Jets. They're gonna find some ways to win. For sure. Ravens moving to the first AFC conference team with 10 wins. Colts pull the upset on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then, speaking of Browns, they take out the Titans. Then the Broncos, they take out the Raiders. The Bills are going to take out the Bengals. And the Chiefs, they have a long week. They're going to take out the Texans. More upset city news. Chargers don't end up charging against the Eagles. Crazy. I know. Lions move to 9-4. Packers to 10-3. Commanders, Seattle, Tampa to 6-7. And then another upset occurs as we're all 10-3s around this, like 10-3 being the best record, as the Cardinals find a way to sneak a W in there. Not that it's going to matter too much for their playoff positioning, but it do be what it does. So then we're over here. We have of course, Chiefs taking on the Chargers and winning. We have the Bengals with the clapback, which is crazy. Then the Bills. I'm going to give this one to Jacksonville. So they're going to kind of start, again, being in the mix. Then I've got the Steelers continuing to stay relevant. They're relevant enough. Then I've got the Texans over the Cardinals. The Bears over the Browns. Eagles. 49ers. Seahawks. Then I have Denver upsetting the Packers, as Bo Nix is going to kind of ball out in that game. Finally, after 14 weeks, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to assume first place in the division. It took them long enough, but they did it. And then, speaking of finalies, finally we're going to have a team trip up to the Giants, as they're going to be 1-13 after the bye week. The Commanders kind of struggling over there. Speaking of, though, more struggle buses, the Lions are going to retake their division after they beat Matthew Stafford. Look at this tough slate over here. Carolina Panthers moved to 6-8, staying relevant. And then, speaking of relevancy, the bottom 3 teams of the NFC don't have it at all, as the Cowboys move to 6-8. Poor Vikings, but I don't see them doing that great. I see them faltering hardcore. Chiefs over Titans. Ravens over the Patriots. Bills over Browns. Broncos working their way up the ladder, kind of on a hot streak to take that W. The Texans over the Raiders. The Bengals over the Dolphins. More upset city news. The Cowboys take and upset the Chargers. Furthering this upset city craziness, the Saints over the Jets. Of course, Lions. San Fran, Seattle, finally getting their much-deserved W, moving them to 11 wins on the season. I mean, a lot of it is just the division is so... Or, like, the schedule for the NFC is West. It's just not a very strong schedule. They don't have to fight too many crazy teams. But speaking of craziness, more upsets. Packers get upset by Chicago, and that basically helps cement the Lions in their position. Then the Commanders get their W. Crazy. Then I'm gonna go ahead and give this to the Vikings, and this basically is like, okay, Giants, you're gonna number one seed or number one pick in the draft. Woo! More upsets though, with Carolina upsetting the Buccaneers. Then the Cardinals beating the Falcons and basically knocking the Falcons out of playoff contention. Week 17. Week 17. The Chiefs are going to beat the Broncos. I've got the Chargers beating the Texans. The Jags beating the Colts. The Jets making their way up to be in contention for the playoffs. The Steelers finding that same kind of method to stay in the hunt. The Raiders taking and winning their game. The Baltimore Ravens dropping the Packers to a spot where they could be out of the playoffs. Crazy. It is basically down to the Packers and the Commanders here, as the Bengals are going to lock in their spot. I feel like this is where the Titans will pull an upset that you don't want to pull for the sake of the team. Then we have the Buccaneers beating the Dolphins to bring them up to 8-8. The Bills taking and getting into the W on the Eagles. Then we have the Washington Commanders, as they're going to be 10-6. So that means a 10-7 team is going to be knocked out of the NFC playoff picture again. Lions, Seahawks. I'm going to go ahead and give this one to the San Francisco 49ers. And then the Rams. And then last but not least, some crazy shenanigans on the last week of the NFL season. We have every team basically being forced to play the game. Does not happen very often. It really doesn't. I mean, yeah, some teams don't have, like, I mean, the Packers have to play, like, the 49ers have to play. The 49ers and Seahawks are playing for the division. The Rams are trying to play for not being the seed 7 to play possibly the Eagles. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot at stake, and every team has something at stake. That's nice. Maybe the playoffs are secured, but that's about it. Speaking of, I got the Chiefs beating the Raiders. The Broncos, I got them upsetting the Chargers. I have the Texans securing the division at 10-7. I've got Cincinnati. And Cincinnati, I think, would actually rest their starters here. Because it doesn't matter. They're actually the only team that doesn't get affected by seeding. So they'd rest their starters, and Cleveland would win. Might as well frick their draft positioning. Bills capitalize, they get the dub. Then Patriots jump back in the fray. Same with the... Oh, wait, no, they are affected by playoff position. I literally just went over that they were affected by playoff positioning, didn't I? I did. They are affected. They could actually win. I still think that they actually still get railed. I still think that they do. And then that secures the Ravens at 3. So that keeps the Steelers in a position. But it's all not going to matter because the Jags are going to win. So poor every other team. Then the Rams are going to secure their place. The 49ers are going to take over the division. That puts Seattle as 3rd place in the division. And that is a very, very, I think, a realistic spot. I think Seattle finishes 3rd in the division. Just unfortunate. I think they make the playoffs. They probably be closer to like 10-7. I don't know how I got them to 12-5. But I will look at the copium that I have because 12-5 is definitely... Don't feel like that's too realistic. I think I'm like really hyping up things that I don't need to. I think, like I said, 10-7 is probably where they sit. So, yeah, I think that unfortunately the Commanders are gonna be out. They're gonna be the team that's out at 10-7. I don't see a true way out. But unfortunately for the Lions, Ben Johnson's going to crush your heart. Ben Johnson is going to make it so you don't get the freaking 1 seed because Ben Johnson would do that. He would do that, and that would suck, and it would be a very riling experience. Speaking of a riling experience, Saints are going to win another one, so they're going to put themselves in a weird bind again. The Cowboys are going to lose to the Giants. So the Giants have a win under their belt. Then, of course, Eagles. And last but not least, literally skating by their division again. I do have the Buccaneers at 9-8. I think they do make it out and skate by their division. And it's almost purely due to their division. Because when you look at the division by division kind of a roundup here, 4-2 against the division. But yeah, let's figure out what copium I was on for the Seattle Seahawks. We have 2-2. Okay, that's winnable. Am I just sealing it? Not really. Our schedule's just that easy. I see us finding a way to drop 2 of these games though. Like the Jags, we could probably drop the Jags game. That's definitely droppable. It's very droppable. So I mean, even if we drop the Jags game, does that affect our? It doesn't even affect our seating. So does it affect the Jags' seating? I don't think it does. Now, honestly, it doesn't affect seating at all. We're gonna throw it in there. And no effect on seeding. And 11-6, 10-7 to 12-5 is where the range I feel like we're gonna be in. So 11-6 is kind of a fair shot. I like the way I have our division. I like that division. Same with that division. I do like the overall standings division to division where everybody sits. I do like that. I mean, even the Dolphins having kind of a fall off season, I definitely agree with. So, okay, we're in a good spot. So that's where I have every team right now. So let's go ahead and go through the playoffs. That's the thing we got left to go over and figure out. With the Texans and Bengals going in and facing off in the postseason, I do want to go ahead and give it to Joe Burrow. Then Lamar is going to win a playoff game there. And the Chiefs are going to get this one to move forward. I just saw my playoff matchup. It's fine. It's whatever. You know, I thought I was going to have a year break where I didn't have to face Joy's team. No. Even in my own fictional universe, I have to face Joy's team. Anyway, well, I'm just going to make it easy. That's that. And then I think this is going to be an all home team situation. Yeah, I think that the Buccaneers are gonna kind of ride the wave there. So divisional round matchups, we have kind of your very standard divisional playoff matchups here. I'm gonna go ahead and knock out the Chiefs though, because here's the thing, right? I have a headcanon, right? And my headcanon is closer to this, but the headcanon is for me marrying Travis Kelce, so like that doesn't really do a thing if what? Did it not? It didn't count that. So like my headcanon doesn't really like help in this scenario because that's not like realistic at all. So back to the divisional round matchups. Like it is gonna be more of a this-esque thing. It's just whether or not it's the Bills or the Bengals. And I'm going to go ahead and give this one to the Bills. Barely. So it's 1-3-1-3. But we're going to get a shocker and a twist where the 3 seed is going to win both. And we're going to have a double. And then we're going to have the Lions still winning it in the end. I think that at that point, everything's going to be good. I think I got to give it to the Lions. Yeah. I do. I think that the Lions are just that they're that team. They are that team. They're going to be good. They've got the experience. They got the fight. They got the drive. They got a lot going on for them that are in the positive. But this is also like, this is near the end of their window. They got 2 years. If they don't do it in 2 years, they're done. And they're back to how the heck do we figure this out? And back to this weird stance. So they don't want to get to that weird stance. They want to win now. And I think they're going to fight so that they can win now. I think this team is one of those teams that will claw. So I got the Lions beating the Ravens in Super Bowl 60. Yeah. Let me know how bad you think I did with your team, because honestly, I probably cooked teams that I didn't need to cook. But I feel like overall I did pretty good. Maybe overhyping Jacksonville instead of the Broncos, but I think Jacksonville's going to do okay. I think they're going to be a sneaky team. But we're done with part 1. If you guys want to see the dice portion of it and see how the dice predicts your NFL teams and where they're going to be, definitely check out the video that will go out on the channel probably next week. So, love y'all.